Chapter 19. Before them is an old, wooden, one-story building tucked tightly between two others. They are equally suffocated by neighboring buildings stretching along either side of the street, disappearing into the gloom of faint torchlight. Off to the right, one of the towers, the North Tower he believes, burns bright a few hundred strides away. When Masra says, "You have earned the chance to meet the group," he had hoped it would not be going back to the Underwatch. He had hoped. He knew it was not going to happen. Rosner eyes Osgrath, who sneers in disgust. "I do not like this place," he grumbles. Masra glances back at him with the faintest of smiles, but says nothing as she opens the door. They walk into a claustrophobic hallway with a single door a few strides down. A single torch burns in a sconce on the left wall, whose flames cast their shadows along the other. From the wall near the door in front of them, a figure emerges. Rosner's skin prickles, but he keeps himself under control. Masra walks up to the figure before starting a silent conversation. After his eyes adjust a little more, he can make out the figure is a man. Just as he does, Masra clears her throat, then points her head towards the door, which tells Rosner they can now follow. Even before Rosner starts to move forward again, he feels the man's eyes on him, reading him, trying to figure out why someone would waste their breath with him. As he passes by, Rosner notes, despite the dim lighting, the man is not quite a man at all, but rather a boy just turned man. If Rosner had to guess, he has witnessed Maris's reign no more than 3 before him. Still, his face is sharp and clean, with eyes that enjoy trouble. Name is Rats. Rosner eyes him, just a shy shorter than himself, thin but toned. His hair is cut short. Rosner replies. Rat gives a light scoff before following Masra inside. Once all of them are in the room and the door closed, Masra begins introductions. There is Derry, a short, slightly plump girl, not much older than him, with melons for breasts. Asul stands next to Dari, with his thin arm around her. Rosner cannot help but think he can be used as a whip. Across the room is Alina, a short, thin girl with long brown hair. There are a handful of others, but Rosner cannot keep up with Masra. When she reaches the end, she looks behind him and says, "Oh, behind you is Rat." Rat scoffs, but remains leaning against the wall. When she stops the introductions, she looks back at him and exclaims, "Welcome to the Triguard." Rosner raises an eyebrow. "The who?" Dari puts her arm around Rosner. "You see, we are part of a group that has its foot in almost every city in the realm. A well-known group of people merchants hire to keep them and their goods safe when traveling. We have fought bandits, mercenaries, pirates, ogres, near anything you can think of aside from a dragon itself. At least someone has fought, and we are good at it." Rosner looks around the room. A single couch and a chair furnish the room, a plain brown rug in between. A small fire burns between them, opposite the main door, casting large shadows against the closed walls. There is a door on the other side of the fire and a steep, tight staircase thrown against the right wall. "So, what do you use?" He finds it hard to believe anything they say given what is in front of him. "I mean, no offense," but you do not look like you could defend against a child. Behind him, Osgroth decides to add his voice. I slay all of you with ease. Rat steps away from the wall with purpose. Really, green guy? I wager 10 talons that I cut off that snake between your legs and feed it to you before you... Rat! Enough! After having everyone's attention, Dari calms her voice. There is no need for that. As for you, Rosner, is it? I can assure you we are more than capable to do what we do. It is part of the reason why we are so good at what we do. We blend with the crowd. And still do not understand why they are here. Rat spits, his back against the wall. Alina nods. I agree. I have been wondering that as well. Her voice is much smoother than Rat's, curious without housing resentment. Rosner eyes Masra. In truth, he has been wondering the same thing, and he is sure Osgroth is not far from different. He is one of those who was captured and placed on the ship with me. He is also the one that allowed us all to escape. At this point, Rosner feels he should butt in and say it was not him, but the dagger that allowed him to do it. As a second thought, though, bringing that up might give cause for more questions than he has no answers to. He still has no clue how he got the dagger, or why everyone on the ship that saw it said it was cursed. Rosner gathers it probably has something to do with it instantly killing anything it touches, which is not quite reassuring. Well, how did he manage that? Dari questions. I know full well that is no minor feat. Rosner feels his face start to burn with dread. How is he supposed to answer a question that he too is wondrous about? Does that really matter? Masra inquires. He is here. I am here. I have been with the Trigod for a few years, and I think we can benefit from having him. Just when Rosner feels a breath of relief for avoiding one conflict, a hard slap connects it with his face. Does he hear her right? Benefit from having him? He shakes his head. Masra, what are you talking about? I still know nothing about this group, and you think I should lend a hand? I'm not sure that is a good idea. Behind him, Osgroth grunts. Bad choice. We go. Rat gives a dark laugh. For once, I agree with the bonehead. I cannot see what having them here will grant us. Rosner hears Alina's voice, but he does not understand her. Her reserved words are nothing when compared to Rat's. Masra asks, What? The other girl sighs. I asked if Rosner can fight. Before Rosner can say anything for himself, his knees almost buckle from Osgroth clasping a heavy hand on his shoulder. Yes, fight and fight well. Fought Minotaur, saved mine life. Fierce, my blood brother. Alina's eyes grow a size larger. Rosner pats Osgroth's hand before sliding it off him. Thanks, Osgroth. By no means does Rosner mean it. At some point, Rat must have stepped away from the wall again, because he appears inches from Rosner, his face blank, unreadable. So, you think you're good with a blade just because you fought a Minotaur? Rosner shakes his head. I never said anything about... Rat turns around to Alina. I say we put him on the next mission. Me, him, Masra. His friend here should stay back. Everyone learns quickly Osgroth does not agree with this. He steps around Rosner and plants himself in front of Rat. Do you not trust orcs? He threatens. Just when Rosner sees this getting messy, Masra steps in. Rat does not speak for the group. From our experience, I know you to be trustworthy. Alina says, That may be true, but it is best to deal with one recruit before looking at another. Masra nods. After we find out how Rosner performs, we will include you in some of our missions. Osgreth sneers, unhappy with the choice, but respects it. He turns to Rosner and points a thick finger at him. You come back, or I hunt for you. Yes? He nods and slaps a hand on his friend's arm. Worry not. I shall return with Masra and Rat once we are done. So, you agree to go on the mission then? Rat stares at Rosner with a slight smile of victory. It is only now he realizes he does indeed agree to go. He was just trying to soothe Osgreth. He did not consider his wood choice. Before he can back out, Alina stands up. It is settled then, she announces. Rosner, you will go with Rat and Masra to the docks and protect the wagon being unloaded from the trading ship southbound. The contract should be on board. You need to follow the wagon to Byrett's Furs in the Plains District. Questions? Rosner raises his hand. Well, actually, just watch and learn, newbie. Rat jests. It does not take long to find the ship. The Life-Giver's light from her throne blinds Rosner as they walk up the pier toward southbound. A large cog with her sail towed. Below, the crew unloads her goods and walks them to the wagon at the pier's end. The crew moves with practice and without a word. Rat leads Rosner and Masra up the pier and onto the ship, where a fair woman greets him in an embrace. She bears boiled leather over her chest and arms, with a cloth shirt underneath and a long skirt. With thick black hair just brushing her shoulders, she carries a strength about her that instantly catches Rosner's attention. After Rat releases her from their embrace, he introduces her as Sierra. The woman nods to Masra, but pauses at Rosner. Her piercing green eyes look him over with ill interest. And who is this one? She ponders, her voice smooth but firm. From her side, Rak is quick to answer. Rosner, but heed him none. I do not see him lasting long. To Rosner's surprise, Masra remains silent. Sierra nods and announces, Let us move then. Two of Sierra's men take to the wagon. They travel down the cobblestone path, one on the reins and the other fancying a crossbow. Sierra herself leads the wagon while Rosner and Masra take either side, and Rat holding up the rear. Soon they ascend from the harbor district into the plains district. They make a pass by the fountain in the plaza's center. For a brief moment, the dragon steals his attention away from reality. He feels its pain as the beast digs his own claws into his chest and hears it roaring like nothing Rosner has ever heard. Then he blinks, and the sound of casual conversation and the click of horses' hooves on the stone comes back to him, as though they never left. The group turns down a side street not far from the fountain. It is not long before they stop in front of a small wooden shop tucked between a set of buildings on either side. A worn wooden sign above the door reads, Byrett's Furs, etched with an unsteady hand. While Sierra's men empty the wagon and she tends to what needs to inside, the other three stand outside watching those that pass by. It is not long before the woman comes back out and all the goods are transferred. She thanks them, then pecks Rat on the cheek before sending them on their way. On the ride back, Rosner falls into step beside Masra, leaving Rat to lead them a few steps ahead. After he is comfortable Rat is out of range, he leans over and asks, "So, what was between Sierra and Rat?" Without looking at him, Masra says, "Let us focus on the task at hand." Rosner decides to drop it, although now he is left with more questions than answers. The biggest question being, why is no one willing to answer his questions? He spends the next cycle with the Tri-Guard, performing tasks like the first. Most of them come from the Forgotten Sea and beyond, but some of them come from inland, in which they meet the wagons short distance from the city and then follow them in. The first week or so was difficult for Osgreth, he noticed. The orc always seems to grumble about not fighting. Then one member of the group introduced him to Underwatch Ale, and he now has been there nearly every night, drinking and brawling when the chance arises, which is often. As Rosner hears it, if they carry the fight outside and do not destroy anything, the barkeep does not care. Only a few days ago did Osgreth enter himself into the Pit, a coliseum located in the Eye, where contenders fight until they cannot continue, either because they lack the energy or are killed, for the entertainment of the residents of Lebem. It has taken Rosner longer than he would like, but he now has the general layout of the city memorized. While most believe the city to have 3 districts, technically it has 4. The Eye District and the Plains District, the Harbor District, and what many have forgotten about, the Underwatch District. The Eye District is where the manticore Grus Lebem resides, whose family started the city. However, a few generations ago, the reigning manticore was killed in a conspiracy to gain power. As the story goes, his wife sent their son away when he was a baby, in the care of someone she trusted. He spent his entire life training to retake this throne in secret. Many even agree he led the Black Shaft for a while before he retook the throne. They say dethroning the manticore usurped birthed the Assassin's Guild, but some within the Tri-Guard believe it has been around longer. Whether or not the stories are true, the city flourishes, and the Plains District proves that to be true. Located below the Eye, the Plains District is considered the heart of the city. Most of its business is conducted here, between farmers, hunters, cobblers, smiths, traveling and stationary merchants, brothels, taverns and inns, and others Rosner cannot name. The city flourishes. It is also here that Capital Road connects Lebem to Jackney, the capital of Doripin, and home to the dragon. The road enters through the East Gate and passes through Travelers Plaza and King's Hill before ending at the Gate of the Watch. Then Lebem Road goes from the King's Hill and through the North Gate before joining with the Road of the Ancients. The other main road in the city is the Street of Tears, which connects the Plains and Harbor districts. This street, so Rosner has been told, is the birthplace of the Forgotten Sea. The statue of the dragon wept until the sea grew to the size it is now. Residents believe it wept for countless lives lost from battles that raged on the plains, and it sought to give them an eternal rest. Rosner ponders this as he walks towards the Street of Tears from the Underwatch. A larger group of the Tri-Guard walk with him today. A few days ago, the same day Osgreth enters himself into the pit, Alina announced a large shipment coming in, and that everyone needs to be on alert, even those not personally involved in the goods transportation. Now is the day. The Life-Giver has just risen, casting beautiful blinding hues throughout the city. Far above, the eyes begin to wane, the start of a tiresome gaze of a giant phantasmal creature longing to rest. Though their presence is still noticeable, their brilliance is immensely overpowered by the Life-Giver's radiance. Some of the urchins that litter the ship's way disappear into small alleyways where rats and other strays and castaways call home, where the stench of the city hides, where trash, feces, and the unwashed cast tendrils of stink out into the street to prey on the unwary. Every now and then, Rossner thinks he can see the smell snake around corners, as if they are phantom serpents searching for prey to consume whole, but when he looks directly at them, they fade. Rossner still does not know why they do not take the main roads, instead traveling discreetly through narrow side streets, though they never walk down the alleys. The group continues past low-end whorehouses and run-down taverns and inns. The houses around them are worn from weather and age, but they are still in much better shape than those of Underwatch. Soon they meet with the Street of Tears and head west towards the harbor. Round here the buildings are less gloomy than those before, but they still do not compare to those in the Plains district. Rat and Masra meet Rossner at the pier's end, and together they approach a massive black galley. 2 masts tower over her deck, with a wooden phoenix at her prow. Along the way, he heard someone say that she is named Blackfire. It seems to fit. He looks over the ship, impressed by its magnificence, until he sees something, or someone, that startles him. In that moment, he trips over his own feet. A few around him sneer, but most ignore him. Fortunately, neither Rat nor Masra seem to notice. Aboard the ship, he walks up to an all too familiar, albeit far older, face. Someone he thought never to see again. Sindra. "What are you doing here?" he asks, attempting to act calm, collected. He does not feel like he is, but he hopes that this is what she sees. It is hard to think it has been over 3 years since he has seen her beautiful face. It has only grown since then, despite her height denying any change. She bears a fitted leather jerkin with simple cloth hugging the rest of her body. Thanks to the Triguard, he himself now bears leather and a sword on his hip, a simple short sword he is yet to have the need for. She, however, does not seem affected by his words. "Is that what you do for hellos now?" she laughs. "I told you my father has a ship." He looks around, and quiet a ship it is. When his eyes come around to her again, he cannot help but smile. "You know, it is quite good to see you." "As is you." He starts to ask her how she has been when Masra appears at his side. She does not do so much as look at Sindra. Instead, she seems to glare at him. "Let us make the delivery," she tells him. Sindra takes this as her cue to dismiss herself, but not before saying to Rossner, "Another day, perhaps," as if she knows the thought that runs through his mind. Rossner and Masra leave her on her father's deck. It is not long before he hears her calling out orders to some of the crew. But that soon fades and the job resumes. However, Masra seems a little more rushed than usual. When Rossner questions her about it, her reply is constrained. "A galley full of soldiers landed last night. Someone must have told them something. We have eyes on us all over. We have to be careful this go around." Rossner raises an eyebrow. This is a big problem, but are we not already careful? She stops and looks at Rossner for a moment, as though debating something silently to herself before walking again. After a few seconds, she says, "Yes, my pet, but this shipment is extremely important." 3 wagons wait for them when they walk off the pier, 2 for the Plains district and 1 for the Underwatch. Rossner swings on a horse that has been readied for him and joins Masra with one of the wagons going towards the center of the city. It only takes them a few moments to notice the number of soldiers walking the streets. Usually only a pair of city guards with long rotations patrol, the busier streets being more frequent. The manticore, the city's sigil, is displayed on their chests, embroidered in blood red and murky brown against a green grass shirt over their chainmail. Today, towering platinum dragons spread their wings wide amongst the manticores, with a light blue behind them, like the sky above the earth. The other sigils circle the dragon. Like Masra predicts, eyes are immediately on them. Some are more obvious than others, but it is those who are not obvious that Rosner are wary of. They never seem to leave the 7th Army's gaze, while the manticores just pass them by. They reach the Traveler's Plaza without any incidences, but the eyes never falter. Even the statue seems to be watching them now, screaming in pain, but watching nonetheless. As the group passes through and heads towards Pleasure Alley, Masra nudges her horse forward until she can talk with the elf leading the group. Rosner cannot hear what is said, but it does not take long. Within a few seconds, she drops back and whispers, "Drop back." She does not wait for him to comply. Unsure of what is going on, he follows her move. As he does, her eyes drift around them, but her head stays forward. A few moments pass before she says something, and when she does speak, it is a curse. It does not take much for Rosner to notice the half-dozen foot soldiers making their way to the wagon. Rosner's heart starts to race. If this ends in conflict, which it probably will, things do not look good. He has dealt with these soldiers before, at home, when everyone decided to have a rebellion and make it his idea. If any of these guys were there and recognize his face, he guarantees they will try to gut him. He looks to his side and finds Masra astride behind him. He slows a little to match her, only to have her mutter, "Run." He looks at her, confusion plain on his face. She repeats herself, but he does nothing concerning her instructions. Instead, he looks back at the soldiers, saying, "Why would—" Oh. He turns back to Masra, who mouths the words yet again, acting like she is looking for his approval to do so. Why does she have to mock him right now? He nods, and they both leap into a gallop as the soldiers draw their weapons. One of them pulls out a crossbow and fires a shaft. The bolt flies by closer to Rosner than he prefers and shadows the window of a storefront. The store owner, a heavy dwarf in a brown leather apron, runs out cursing, eyes blazing with rage. Though once he sees the Venmarain, his rage disappears and he runs back inside, followed by what Rosner swears is the door being barred shut. Over the sound of hooves striking stone, though, he is not sure. They start heading north on Lebem Road when the two notice more soldiers near the city entrance. One of them spots them and calls out. The two rear around and race down a side street before ditching the horses and disappearing down an alleyway. Rosner wants to ask why they left the horses, but something tells him to just keep running until a brick wall stops him. Only him. Masra leaps at a windowsill, throws herself up to another, then grabs the edge of the wall and sends herself over. Rosner follows after a moment's hesitation. He has never done anything like this, aside from that small stunt on the ship last cycle. He grabs the first windowsill and manages to hold himself there. Then he reaches for the next, but instead of getting closer, he gets further away. The ground greets him harshly. Their pursuers are not any kinder. It is not until he wakes up again with a pounding headache that he realizes he is on board another ship.